Good day, children. Today, we are doing the last poem in the Flamingo textbook, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers by Adrienne Rich. Adrienne Rich was born in 1929 and died in 2012. She was an American poet, essayist, and feminist. She has published 19 volumes of poetry, 3 collections of essays, and other writings. A strong resistance to racism and militarism echoes through her work. The poem Aunt Jennifer's Tigers is a feminist poem that criticizes the male-dominated or patriarchal society that victimizes women. Here, Aunt Jennifer is scared of her husband, but creates a parallel world of tigers on her embroidery panel through sewing, providing her creation the characteristics that she longs in her. Aunt Jennifer is a very short poem of 3 stanzas, each stanza comprising 4 lines. The first stanza describes the creation, the second, the creator, and the third is the future of the creator and the creation. The rhyme scheme is AABB. The rigid pattern of rhyme scheme mirrors the rigid life of Aunt Jennifer. I'll read the poem for you. Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across the screen, bright topaz denizens of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. When Aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie, still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. In the first stanza, we have a description of the creation of Aunt Jennifer. Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen. So the tigers which Aunt Jennifer has created on her embroidery panel. Embroidery panel is that you can see a figure just above the title. That is called the embroidery panel, on which a piece of cloth is tightened and then embroidery work is done. So Aunt Jennifer's tigers take a leap across the screen. So she's embroidering tigers on this panel. They are taking a leap across the embroidery screen. So embroidery panel on which she is doing the embroidery work of tigers taking a leap. She has given the color of topaz. Topaz is a precious stone which is yellow in color. So she has given the color yellow, the bright yellow color for her tigers. So bright topaz denizens of a world of green. Denizens are anything or anyone that exists in their natural habitat or environment. So the tigers which are given yellow color, the denizens that exist in the forest in their natural habitat. Topaz here is a metaphor. Bright topaz denizens of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. So tigers are denizens of a world of green. They exist in this forest. So she has given the color yellow for the tigers on the background of greenery. The tigers do not fear the men beneath the tree. The tigers are fearless and not affected by the presence of men. So here we can see a contrast between the creator and the creation. Though she gives the quality of fearlessness to the tiger, we can see that she herself is afraid of her husband. So the tigers do not fear the men. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek, chivalric certainty. They pace, means they move in sleek, chivalric certainty. She is given three characteristics. Three characteristics have been associated with the tigers. Sleek means majestic, chivalric means displaying an honorable behavior, and certainty is the confidence. So the tigers move around majestically, honorably, and with confidence. These are qualities that Aunt Jennifer, the creator, lacks and desires. So these are the qualities that she desires. So the first stanza describes the creation of Aunt Jennifer. So we have seen the qualities of majestic, honorable, and confidence in the tigers. The tigers have the color of the topaz, a precious stone, and they do not fear men. The figures of speech used here, metaphor, the use of topaz, a precious yellow stone, to describe the yellow color of the tiger, and in chivalric certainty we have alliteration. Moving on to stanza 2. Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool. So as she is engaged in the task of sewing, her hands are trembling as she is timid and fears her husband. So in the first stanza, we have a description of the creation. In the second stanza, now we have the description of the creator. And the creator, Aunt Jennifer, is engaged in the task of sewing. And as she is doing that work, her hands are trembling because she is timid and fears her husband. Her fluttering or trembling hands are a sign of her weakness. So Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool. Her hands are trembling as she is doing the work with wool on the embroidery panel. Find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The ivory needle, which is so light, is difficult for her to pull. Again, shows her as a weakling. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hands. So she is wearing on her finger the wedding band or the ring, which feels heavy as she is burdened by this sacrament of marriage. The ring as such is light, but it's referred to as massive weight. So there also we have a figure of speech. It's called hyperbole. That means exaggeration. So the massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hands. So what the poet means to say is, she's trapped in the ordeals or miseries of married life. Marriage is a sacrament that bonds a man to a woman, and they share a relationship of love and care. And the wedding band or the ring is a sacred symbol of this bond. But for Aunt Jennifer, this ring becomes a circle of misery from which she can never escape. So, in the second stanza, it is a creation, and we get a description of what kind of person Aunt Jennifer is. So, as she does her work, her hands tremble and she can't even pull the light ivory needle. On her finger lies the heavy weight of Uncle's wedding band. Wedding band is a ring which is actually light, but she feels heavy. She feels it heavy on her finger because of the miseries or the hardships that she suffers in her married life. The figures of speech here, in fingers fluttering, we have alliteration. We have metonymy in wedding band because it is a word. Wedding band here is a word that is used to represent another. Wedding band is a wedding ring and it represents the bondage of married life. And in massive weight of Uncle's wedding band, we have the literary device hyperbole, which also means exaggeration. Moving on to stanza 3. Here we can see what future holds for the creator and the creation. When Aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie, still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. Notice, it is no longer Aunt Jennifer, but simply Aunt, as she has not carved an identity for herself when she lived. When aunt is dead, her terrified hands is an important word here in this poem because there are two literary devices hidden in terrified hands. In terrified, we have the transferred epithet because terrified describes the special quality of a person. And in hands, we have synecdoche, the literary device synecdoche, because hands is a part of the body, but it represents the whole body or the whole person here. So, in terrified hands, we have two literary devices, transferred epithet. Terrified is transferred epithet, and in hands, we have the literary device synecdoche. So, her terrified hands will lie still ringed with ordeals. Ordeals means miseries she was mastered by. Aunt Jennifer neither freed herself from bondage towards her husband nor from the shackles of married life or the hardships she faced in marriage. When she lies buried in a grave, she is still in that bondage called marriage. She is still ringed or trapped within the ordeals or hardships she was a victim to during her lifetime. Her husband had mastery over her during her lifetime as well as in her death. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. So that we know the fate of the creator. She goes to her grave still ringed with the ordeals that she was burdened with during her lifetime. Let us see what is the fate of the creation. The creator lived and died in fear, while her creation, the tigers on the panel, will continue to live and prance or leap, proud and unafraid. The tigers, her creation, Aunt Jennifer's creation, managed to retain their dignity, not go down by another being. So the figures of speech here, in terrified hands we have transferred epithet, and in hands we have synecdoche. Prancing, proud, we have the figure of speech, alliteration. So that brings us to the end of the poem. Thank you, children.